You are live is what it says here in StreamYard. So I am here with MeLisa Dill. We'll explain a little bit more about who MeLisa is here in a second. But before we get to doing anything else, if you can hear us and if you can see us, just go ahead and put in the comments, hey, we can see you, we can hear you, all that good stuff. If you can't see us or you can't hear us, then I don't know what to tell you. Just turn it off and turn it back on, refresh, do all the things. Uh, Also, if you can give StreamYard your permission to your Facebook to show your beautiful faces so that we can see you when you comment. So we can see Wendy, Natasha, Nicole, we can see all your beautiful faces because we see you and you've given StreamYard. Priscilla, we can see you too. So far, so good. So thank you all for being here today. Today, we are talking about the Organized VA series. It's going to be incredible, an incredible series. I'm really excited. When we were talking, I was talking to MeLisa about this series before, and I was just kind of telling her, the systems and all this stuff, it's not as sexy as like marketing and stuff, but it's so important.
I'm so offended by that. I think it's very sexy.
It is. It so is. We're bringing sexy back with systems is what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
So let me explain who I am. My name is Chachi Diaz. I am the Senior Director of Technology here at the Virtual Savvy, web design enthusiast, Enneagram 9, dad and husband, and I am a Backstreet Boy fan for life. I just can't help it. Down within sync. It's very much a controversial topic inside of TVS. I am here with MeLisa Dill. MeLisa, tell us a little bit about yourself. It is not Melissa, it is MeLisa. Tell us about yourself.
A little bit different. Yep. I'm the COO here at the Virtual Savvy, have been for quite some time now. We're over 5 years. I have all boys, 4 of them. So I get to be the queen of my castle, which is
Awesome.
sometimes nice, sometimes annoying.
Ups and downs, yeah.
Yeah, ups and downs. Enneagram 1, it's right or it's wrong, right?
No in between, right or wrong.
And Kook Life. Do you like Outer Banks?
I have never, the show, right? Outer Banks. I've never seen it.
Oh my goodness. So my boys love it. They think it's great. And I think that the Kook Life is definitely where it's at. You're on the beach, you have like lots of money and people bring you things, and I don't know. Pogue Life is pretty interesting. Those are the poor people. They have lots of fun, but it's all on the beach.
I have never seen the show. I'm going to have to go back and watch it now and figure out what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term before, Kook Life.
Kook Life. All
right. We're already learning things. So let us know where everybody is watching from. Just put your state, put your country. We'd love to see if we have an international. Usually we have an international crowd watching from all across the world, which is really cool to see where everybody's watching from. I am from South Texas. MeLisa is from MISSISSIPPI from Mississippi. Pensacola, Florida. Awesome. Arkansas, San Diego. There we go. Canada. We got some international crowd here. New Jersey. Erica says, I could get down with a Kook Life. That sounds dreamy. What is that? I have got to.
I'm telling you, it's amazing. We actually, it's out in Virginia is where it's filmed at, I believe. But they go to all kind of tropical places, and yeah, it's just beach
life. I can get behind that. I can get behind a beach life.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about what this Organized VA series is. You're going to see a lot. Anytime that you see MeLisa on with us live, it is going to be around the Organized VA series. So MeLisa is going to dish on the ins and outs of what it takes to create a system and an organization framework for your business. And the whole point of that is so that it can grow and it can scale with ease. Abby says all the time, especially when we're doing launches and stuff like that, everybody wants clients. Everybody wants all of these leads. But what would happen if we gave you 50, 100 leads? Would you be able to handle it? Do you have the systems in place to handle it within your business so that you can actually do something with those leads? So anytime MeLisa is on with us, she is going to give us those systems and that organization inside of our business. So I'm really excited to talk about what we are talking about today.
I'm excited too. I love the systems and organization, and some people may get overwhelmed with it, but we're just really going to simplify it here, and we're going to make it easy, and you're going to fall in love with systems.
Fall in love with systems.
Yeah. We
Wow,
can
what a
do
bold ask. Okay, so let's do it. These are the 3 easy steps to a systematized business. Okay, before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of this training, we have a free download for you that we put together. You can download this free fillable PDF at thevirtualsavvy.com/systems worksheet, all one word. And you can follow along if you'd like. You can do it afterwards if you want to, go back and watch the replay, however you want to do it. And we'll talk about this at the end as well. But thevirtualsavvy.com/systems worksheet, you can go ahead and download that free PDF. All right. That being said, MeLisa, what is the first thing that you have got to do inside of your business to start creating that system and that organizational process?
Absolutely. You've got to get it out of your brain. So we're taking it just 3 easy steps. Step one is decide on a project management platform.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what you use. It really doesn't matter. We've got several examples right here. You need to go ahead and do your research, kind of figure out which one works for you. You need to consider how you like. But the big thing is like you've just got to kind of get it all out of your head and put it down into something tangible, right? And we want to go ahead and keep this simple. You can just do Drive. You don't have to go with a big system. I'm going to show you how you can do it in Drive and make it real easy. And obviously, Google Drive, it's free. We have Asana. Asana is, they also have a free platform or a free option. You can do the paid option. It's $13.50 or $30.50 for the paid form of Asana. But Asana is kind of like just a bunch of tasks. It's a bunch of lists and a bunch of tasks, and it's easy to see. Trello is another really popular one. My personal favorite, whenever I first started as a virtual assistant, was Trello. It also has a free version. It's $6 a month or $12.50 for like more automations. But it's more like your pegboard. Has like if you can think of just like a big board with a bunch of sticky notes on it. That's kind of what Trello looks like. And then what we currently use is ClickUp. Now, ClickUp also has a free version, but you can get it for $9 a month for more automations, up to 19. And ClickUp it's very robust. It has a lot of options.
Yes.
You have a whole lot more automations and connection pieces and stuff like that. So you just kind of have to figure out how you like to work, but choose something and just stick with it. Like go with something, say, hey, how does my brain work? Like research each one of these. You've got to figure out what works for you. So whenever Abby and I first started working together, she had it all in her head. Everything was in her brain. She had nothing on paper. She had Trello. She kind of dabbled in it. She had Asana. She kind of dabbled in it. But nothing was like just really listed out. And I didn't know how to help exactly because it was all in our brain. So once we decided on a platform, it ended up being Trello. We started just like downloading everything, and I don't know, having that visual helps your team to help you.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into more of what is it going to look like? Like once we put it in here, what is it going to look like? That's going to be step 2. But deciding on a platform. Have you used any of these?
Yes, I've used all of them. I would say that probably ClickUp is, if you can get over the hump with ClickUp, like if you can just get over the robustness and understand that you don't have to use every single feature. And even in a business like ours, we don't use every single feature. I mean, there are, you can make dashboards, you can run reports. I mean, there is a ton of stuff that you can do with it.
You can set goals and time limits,
Yes,
kind of
it's
stuff.
crazy. You can log time. But if you can get over that and understand, like if you're really into this business and this is what you want to do, for a living, then you'll probably eventually need to get into ClickUp and be able to use, especially if you start growing a team. You just kind of have to understand that maybe you're not there yet, but you can still use ClickUp for what it is too. Something that you said that was really good. You said to Abby, I don't know how to help you if you don't really have it out of your brain yet. That's so important. You have got to put something down, even if it's like a really rudimentary, simple system. Just write it down, put it into this thing so people can help you with this.
Exactly. And you just, I don't know, having that framework deciding on what you're going to go with, starting from like if you just started your business, this is literally the perfect time to go ahead and start with a project management tool.
Yep.
It's much easier to start now than like have all these things going and then try to figure out how to put that into a system. Like you just build it little by little and as you go.
Yes. We have a question here that is really
Mhm.
great from a Facebook user. Again, if you can give StreamYard permission to see your face, that would be great. But for this user, she had asked, how are these different from HoneyBook? And it's okay that you're super new. Thanks for going outside of your comfort zone to ask a question like this.
Yeah.
MeLisa, is this something that you can answer?
Not really. I haven't used HoneyBook, but HoneyBook, I believe, has more of like your automations, like going from taking money and sending your contracts and
Yeah,
that. It doesn't really have the project
correct.
management. Am I correct
Yes.
on that?
Yes, I'm a HoneyBook user, so I love HoneyBook. It's super cheap too. It's like $9 a month, up to 10,000 or something like that. And they just started that, so it's really great. But HoneyBook is more of a invoicing system, a customer relations management system, to where you can start a project. They have a login. They can see all the files and contracts and stuff. So that's not really a project management system for yourself or for your business. That's more of a client side. So they can see what you're doing. They can pay you online, things like that.
Yes.
So you would need HoneyBook in addition to Trello or Asana, ClickUp, or however you're doing it, Google Drive. That's a great question, though. I appreciate that.
It is a great question. And just to add to it, like you would take your HoneyBook links or processes or whatever, and you would plug this into your project management so that you can track, like, what am I using for my customers?
Yes.
We'll get into that in just a minute.
Yeah, Erica says one is more CRM based, contracts, invoicing, forms, paperwork, and one is more project based, task focused, personal thoughts. It's exactly right, Erica.
Yep.
Another thing that you said I really want to put attention to is all of these are, you can do these completely free. There is no cost or entry into starting this. It is just your time, which is valuable, which is a cost in and of itself. But this is completely free.
Right. You can totally bootstrap this. And this isn't an exhaustive list either. There's others. I think Monday is one.
Monday's a new
There's,
one. Airtable is a very popular one.
Airtable. Yeah. There's several ones. So just because we have these listed doesn't mean that you have to go with this. It's just a good example and very popular uses. So, do your research. Google it, find out what's out there and what works for your brain. Because the bottom line is if it does not work for your brain, then you're not going to use it and you're not going to continue with it. So make sure whatever system you go with, you feel comfortable with it. Don't try to become an Asana user just because somebody else uses it. Figure it out, go to Trello, figure that out, or whatever project management tool you want to try, and just see what works for your brain.
110%. One of the things that we should probably also talk about here is that Asana is based on lists. Lists. So you can create different lists and then create tasks within those lists. Trello is Kanban. So you can kind of see in their logo, it has boards, and you create cards on those specific boards, and then you can move them around. So you would have to do, in process, blocked, and done, and you would move that card along that process or whatever. ClickUp, you can do, oh my gosh, calendar view, Kanban style view, list view. So it's kind of like almost the best of all of the worlds. But again, if you can get over the complexity of what it looks like to begin with, you can really grow with it and just kind of start with it and grow with it. So I think that's worth noting.
There was a transition for myself between Trello and ClickUp. So I was such a Trello user, and the way that it worked made so much sense to my mind. And then whenever I went over to ClickUp, I was like, I have so many options. Like, what do I do with it? I'm like completely overwhelmed. But once you get through that, I don't have to use everything and just make it work for you. Then, I mean, it's so much more robust. There's so many more options. Really, really love ClickUp now.
Good. Okay. So we've hammered on step one, decide on a project management platform. It's the absolute first step. So what is step number 2?
Let's go ahead and reflect for just a second, though. Okay. Step 1 was so easy, right? There wasn't anything major, overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, what just happened? You're just deciding on somewhere to put this. That's all it is, like making a decision. So that's step one. Step two. Step two, what you need to do is decide on your departments. Now, this is the way that we have it broken down in the Virtual Savvy. This is not an exhaustive list. However, this is very easy kind of chunks of departments. And this is what you need to think about with your business. So a lot of people get very overwhelmed. It's like, oh my gosh, I have all of these things to do whenever I'm first starting a business. Like, where do I even start? What am I doing? But it really, like, if you could just take a look at these 4 different areas, if you've never started a business before, just take a look at these 4 different areas and you're like, okay, let's not feel like we're walking into like this big, huge open mall, so to speak. Like we have departments, and each one of those are, think about a store, how there's departments in each one of those things. Right. That's what we're going to do with our business. So the first one we're going to talk about is operations. Again, my specialty is where I love to land. It makes sense in my brain. So this is where you're going to talk about your team, or what you're going to think about your team. Do you want a team? Is it just you right now? What do you want to look, things to look like in the future? You want to think about your legalities. It's, am I an LLC? Am I a sole corporation? Like, what am I doing here? Like, what kind of paperwork do I need to set up in my state? Your financials. If you don't have your financials together, like we're starting businesses to make money. That's what we're doing, right? So we need to make sure we're tracking our expenses and what's coming in. And this is like your just day-to-day operations. So just tracking what's happening every day, what's going on each day. So that's kind of what you're thinking about whenever you're thinking about operations. It's kind of like the meat and potatoes of like what makes sure the business continues to run. Right. But then we have marketing. Marketing is telling people about your company, letting people know, hey, I exist out here in the world. And so what do you look like? So that's your branding. What is the voice? What do people see and experience whenever they come into your company? These are things like your ads, like getting that information out there, socials, think about Facebook and Pinterest and TikTok and Twitter and like all the different all the different outlets. And your outreach, like going out there and like connecting with people, marketing, getting out there, networking. This is like, you could be doing this locally at networking events that are local. You could be doing this on Facebook or whatever. So this is just like getting your voice out there, getting your brand out there, letting people know that you actually exist. So then the next stage we have is sales and tech. And that's where Chachi lies. He is amazing at tech. I love you. I love you in tech, because tech so often like blows my mind. But it's how things are connected, right? It's all your different software. It's your webinars. Like how do you put on a webinar? What do you do? Like what connection pieces do you need? Like there's landing pages, there's sales calls, there's the website, there's development, checkout pages, like how you collect the money. How does all of this work together? And you do it so well. You help us out so much. So that's where like everything is coming in. And I don't know. I say that operations is kind of like the meat and potatoes of the business, but that this is another core piece that if you don't have it connected well, it doesn't work. So
it literally does not work.
It doesn't. It doesn't work. And sometimes it breaks anyway, and then you have to.
True. So true.
And then we have our product department. So what are you actually putting out there into the world? What are you actually selling? Are you selling a physical product? Are you selling a service? Like we most of us here as virtual assistants, we're selling a service. And then like, how are you helping your customers? So that customer service, like once you have this product, whatever it is, like what kind of updates are you doing to it? Making sure we're keeping up with all of the things. So any kind of thing that, switch or change, updating that. And then if you have inventory or supplies, if it's a physical product. So these 4 pieces kind of encompass each thing that you're going to experience in your company. And so just like kind of thinking about each one of these, okay, breaking these down. So Now we only have 4 departments. We're not like spread all over the world. We're not like kind of confused. We've broken it down into 4 main areas. And once you have those 4 main areas, then you can start thinking about like strategy for each one of these. And it's like, okay, I can tackle like this thing in operations. I can tackle this thing in marketing, so on and so forth. That's step 2.
So let me ask you a question. There's a lot of people that are watching right now and that are starting their businesses and are in the very first phase of their business. They've figured out their branding, what they want to be called, and they may have a client or two, but they don't necessarily have a team. How do they have departments if you're a solopreneur?
Okay, so we'll get into that in the next step.
Okay.
But that is exactly why you want to break it down. It's so that you can like say, okay, this is what happens in this department, and you don't have to worry about your team right now. You just have to worry about what am I doing in this area. So let's go to step 3.
Okay, step 3.
All right. This is going to be your playbook. All right. So if you think about a team, a sports team or whatever, most sports teams have these playbooks. And what is the purpose of a playbook? The purpose of a playbook is so that everybody knows what everybody else is doing and you can work together as a team, right?
Yes.
So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. There's 4 areas in an SOP. So, 4 areas in a playbook. Yeah. You have number 1 is your SOP, which is your standard operating procedures. This is how things actually get done.
Correct. Okay.
Your second area is your references. So this is like the things that you go to and you're like, oh, where's like, and we'll have a slide for this, but like references is like what I'm referring to, like what can I go to and say, hey, here's this information. Your templates is something like a social media post or whatever. This is like a template of what this is supposed to look like. And your backlog is just those things that you haven't put into place yet. So I'm going to get real simple. Let's say you have a Google Drive and you're going to use Google Drive for putting your playbook in. What you would do is you would have a spreadsheet, and at the bottom of that spreadsheet, you would have 4 different tabs. One for SOPs, one for references, one for templates, and one for backlog. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next slide and we'll talk about SOPs. Okay, so what an SOP is it's a step-by-step process or procedure. This can be written, it can be video, it could be audio, it could be a checklist, or just like completely full of instructions. We like to do kind of like a hodgepodge of 2 things. Like we like that step by step, but we like it written and we like to have that video so that you can show
great.
people. Yes. And we use Loom for that, Loom. And so what you'll do is in your first spreadsheet, you would just have a list of all your different SOPs. So you would go through operations and you're like, what takes me longer than 5 minutes to do? And you're just going to go ahead and list, okay, this takes me longer than 5 minutes. Will it get done more than once? And do I like doing it? Right? So those 3 questions, whenever you ask those questions, you can think about, okay, in operations and these different pieces of operations, what does this look like? What step-by-step procedures do I need to write down in operations? Then you go on to marketing. Is there anything that I do on a regular basis, something that takes longer than 5 minutes, something I do more than once? Go ahead and put that down in marketing, and then so on and so forth. So with each department, you can start now thinking about like, what are those regular things that happen?
Yeah. All right. So for the sake of clarity, who is coming up with these SOPs?
You are.
You are as the solopreneur, as the business leader. It seems really fancy, like SOPs. Oh, that sounds really intimidating and fancy. How do I do SOPs? Yes, you do SOPs. You are the creator of this thing. It is your process. The cool thing about writing them down is that you can go back later and think, oh, this is a better way to do it. You know what I mean? You can keep figuring out I can make this into this right now. It's a 10-minute process. I can make this into a 5-minute process, and it makes
Exactly.
it so much better. But you have to write it down. You have to get it out of your head.
You have to get it out of your head. And it's once you have these operating procedures, again, when we get to that piece, whenever you do hire somebody on, you can just give them this process, and you can say, this is what I want you to do. This is how I like for this thing to be done.
Yes. And it really solves the issue of when you are creating this, you've created your VA business and then you want to start an agency model. A lot of
Mhm.
people ask the question of, will my current clients get upset that they're not actually getting me, but they're getting somebody that I've hired?
Exactly.
And my response always to that is, well, they may not be getting you, but they're also getting your processes, the way that you do things, your, like when you go to Hell's Kitchen in Las Vegas, Gordon Ramsay isn't cooking you that steak, right? But he is, in a
It's his
sense. It's
recipe.
his recipe, and it's his
Yeah.
time, and it's his butter. I don't know. It's a great steak. I've eaten it once
I
time
haven't
in my
had
life. It's a great steak, but Gordon Ramsay did not make it for me. Priscilla said something that was really good. She says, I've used tango.us for capturing PDF-based workflows. It really makes a huge difference. It's a cool little, I think it's a browser extension that you install on your browser, and then you press record, and then you go and you do whatever it is that you need to do, and then you press stop. It creates screenshots for you and fills in, the actual steps, and then you can go back and edit it or change whatever you need to do. But it takes, you don't have to actually write anything down. But of course, we've used Loom before. That's Loom, which is essentially just a screen capture, a screen grab of what you're doing, and you can record your voice just like we are doing now. It's an incredible, incredible tool to use.
Absolutely. And I think tango.us, I think they have a free version too. Is that correct?
I think so. I think the only limitation to that is it may limit you. I don't know, it's the number of steps or however many you can do, but all of these are really affordable. Loom used to be completely free, which was a steal. I always felt like I was just stealing from them because it was so
I
good.
know.
But then I think they started charging maybe $10 a month or 15 or something like that to go longer than 5 minutes. But you
Yeah,
can get away with so much within 5 minutes. So
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. You can
there's
break
plenty of
down.
so many things
Yeah, you can
to
break
do.
down each little step too. If you don't want to go over that 5 minutes and you still want to get it free, oh, 10 workflows only.
10
Okay, there.
workflows only for Tango. Yeah. But so it'll definitely get you started. But again, a lot of these are so incredibly affordable at, $9 or $10 a month. So it's good.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to go into the next one, which is references. Love the questions and love the engagement. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat, and then we'll, if I need to stop MeLisa and say, oh, wait, slow down. Wait, you're blowing our mind, then I can do that. But we're going to keep going if there's no other questions.
All
All
right.
right.
So
References.
your next tab is your references. So again, you're going to do the same thing over again. You're going to take a look at operations. You're going to take a look at marketing. You're going to have this divided into these whatever departments that you have, but then you're going to look at your things like your brand assets. So where's your logo? Where's your headshot? What colors do you use? Those kinds of things. You would also have things like your product information. So for us, as an example, we have the Savvy system, and we have Ultimate, Ultimate Pro, and Light, and this is how much each one of those costs. So you have like all of your product information. You're just listing things, like all of your things that you have. You're just listing them. Your policies, any type of policy that you have, like if you have, for instance, your packages and stuff like that, and the policies around that, you're just going to list that. Any tools that you use in your business over there in tech. What kind of tools do you use? Do you use WordPress, or do you use Slack or Trello or Asana, or like whatever tool it is? List all of those tools. And then this is where you're going to have your content calendar as well. Like, this is my calendar. And these are just examples of files that you can put in there. But these are things that you're just going to and you're referencing. It's like when somebody says, hey, where can I get this thing? Like, where's this at? Where can I find this thing at? that's where you send them to, is you send them to your references. And so everything is like right there, easy just to go and grab, and nobody's like looking. It's like, is this in Google or is this
Right.
over here? It's like it's right here all together, and you just separate it by department. This is in operations, marketing, tech, and product.
Again, if you're going into an agency model, this references section is the gold of to make everything flow efficiently and work the way that it absolutely should. The last thing that you want is for one of your subcontractors to be waiting for you to find something that they needed that should have been in this list. So it just makes everything so much more efficient. Some people are asking about replays, and I want to make sure that we talk about this. So can you rewatch this? Absolutely. You're going to need to rewatch this if you want to do some notes, or if you want to go and fill in all of these things with that worksheet. Let me bring up again the worksheet you can download at thevirtualsavvy.com/systems worksheet. So if some of people on our team can repost that into the comments, that would be fantastic. Okay, anything else about references?
Yeah, this is, again, not an exhaustive list. I want to get your mind thinking about, what could I put here? Somebody asked the question, can you put your W-9 in here? Absolutely. Anything that is going to like remain consistent, that's not going to change, this is where you can put that in at. And sometimes there's some things that will change, like for instance, your calendar from year to year, but just having that link, it's like, here's my content calendar, here's where to go. But anything that is going to remain consistent, that you're always going to need to go to and grab really quickly, this is going to be your references. It's just like whenever you're working with a client, honestly, it's like you're trying to get all this information from a client. If they had a reference list, they could automatically just go ahead and give you their information. But oftentimes we're waiting for our clients to give us things, right?
This also brings back another point. If you are working, let's say that you are a social media manager, that content calendar is going to be really important. And so maybe you want to use ClickUp because of their calendar feature. And maybe Asana doesn't have that good of a feature. Trello, I'm not even sure it has a calendar feature. I'm sure it does.
It does.
It does, yeah, in some sense. So which one do you like better? Like if that's going to be a major component of the work that you're doing and working with other VAs, that's going to be a major component. So you kind of have to almost rework things backwards, from your goal and what the actual business is for you as a VA.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, references. All right, so we're going into templates.
Okay, so now this is going to be pre-made and approved. It goes back to when you do get to hiring people, right? This is how Gordon Ramsay makes his steaks. He has this recipe. He has these pre-made, approved things that are created. So an example is your SOP template. Like, this is how I want SOPs to look, step by step. We want people to use Loom, or we want people to use what was that one called? Tango. Yeah, thank you. So this is how this SOP needs to look. Whenever you're going to outreach, it's like, what do you do whenever you're reaching out to other people? Like whenever you're networking, here's a step-by-step, this is the template that you're going to use. Social media templates is a really great example, kind of like what's sitting up there. If I have a social media template, maybe there's like a collection of 10 templates that I kind of recycle through. This is where I'm holding all of my templates. Email response is another example of a good template. Yep. Meeting agendas. Like, what do we talk about? What do we need to address? Here's the templates. Here's the agenda that we need to look at. So again, just take a look at each department and break it down. What do I need for this department? What kind of template am I going to use over and over? What kind of process am I going to use over and over, that I can just pre-make it and somebody can go pick it up and run with it?
For so long within TVS, I don't know why, but we always tried to use meeting agendas because we would forget the decisions that we would make inside the actual meeting. But when you have a template in place in a very specific place and you get into a habit, it could really save hours to not actually have to have that conversation all over again. You can refer back to the meeting agenda and you can say, oh, this is what we're going to charge, or this is what, how the process is going to be. Email responses, so incredibly helpful. because no one is going to respond to an email like you,
Right.
but they can do it in a way that has your tone and has your punctuation and the way that you, if you use emojis or however you do that. But having
Right.
those templates there for another person is great. But you don't have to do this if you, or the better way to say it is, even if you don't have a team, this is something
Mhm.
that you should be doing and starting in your business right now as a solopreneur.
It helps you to create consistency.
Ah,
That
so
is
good.
another very, very vital part. Mhm.
Consistency. That's a great word. It's a bad word because I'm not very consistent, but I'm working on it. Okay. Backlog.
Backlog. Okay, so this is really, really easy. Whenever you get started, there's going to be so many different things that you're going to need to document, right? And so you're going to want to create an area of backlog. And it's just like you put anything in there that you know you need a system for, you know you need a template for, you know you need an SOP for, but you go ahead and you get into the backlog and you're like, okay, I'm just going to drop this here, because if we try to store it in our minds, it's not going to work. You're going to forget about it. It's going to go, you're going to miss it. And then whenever you're going to work on your playbook, you're going to be like, what was that thing I needed to do? What was it again? But if you just go ahead and just drop it down in your backlog, then whenever you do have that opportunity to work on your business again, you have it right there. You're like, oh yeah, I needed an SOP for this. Let me go ahead and make that.
Yeah. There's so many times when I'm literally just holding a piece of information in my brain. And then I get to a point to where I'm like, why am I so overwhelmed? Oh, it's probably
Yeah,
because I have 10 things that I'm holding in my brain because I have
right.
nowhere to put it. So
Yes.
as long as you know in your brain that you have somewhere to put something, you can let it down and you don't have to have any mental capacity, being used for that. So I think that's a really great thing. Backlog.
Absolutely. Yes, and that's literally what we're doing is we're taking the mental load and we're removing it from our minds and we're putting it into a system of some sort. We're putting it into a software of some sort so that the software thinks for us and we don't have to
So
think
good.
anymore.
So good. This is the benefit of this that we haven't said out loud that we really need to say is this is also a mental health thing. Like business is hard enough.
Business is hard
It
enough.
is hard
Yes.
enough to grow this thing, to spend money on this thing, to go through the doubts and all of the things that you're going to go through as a solopreneur. But then you want to get anything that you can remove from that brain, from that mental load, put it down and get some mental clarity. It's good for you in a health realm. So
That is so
very
important.
important.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. Something else that we do, and it's not listed here, but each one of us, we have our own playbooks. So each person within the company has their own playbooks. And so it's listed out what are my BAUs, business as usual tasks, what happens daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly, and then literally just creating a line for those BAUs. All you have to do is just go into your playbook and check it off.
Yes,
It
it is
just
so
stops you
nice.
from having to think over and over, like,
Yes.
what was this again?
And it's reoccurring too. So like every 2 weeks, it reminds me, do Facebook reporting or, every month, do your reimbursement things or this Facebook user said, what does the BAU stand for again? You just mentioned it, but mention it one more time.
Yes, BAU is business as usual. So just your regular tasks. Again, think about your daily tasks. If you need to go into, if you have a Facebook group, for instance, you need to go in and you check in your Facebook group. You have your email list or your inbox, whatever. You need to go in daily and check that inbox. And then start thinking about what you would do weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. An example is like quarterly taxes or yearly filings or whatever, things that you don't do all the time. But if you have that in your BAUs, business as usual, like if they're listed, then you're like, oh yeah, that's coming up. It also helps with forecasting. That's a whole nother project topic rather.
All right. So that was BAU. So let's talk about playbook one more time.
Okay. So to summarize, I want you to think about your playbook as a living document. You're never going to finish your playbook. Like you're literally never going to finish your playbook because something's going to change. That's just the nature of online business, is something is going to change. You're going to figure out a better way to do it. That platform is going to shift and adjust, because that's what tech does on a regular basis. So you're going to have to update an SOP. You're going to be thinking about, oh, I have this other thing to update or to include from my backlog. So this is going to be a living document, and don't get overwhelmed with that. I want you to really use your backlog to kind of like list everything out, and then plug it in as you need it. I also want you to think about, first thing that you need to do is what is going to save you the most time and make me the most money. Said it at the top. Like we're in business, right? That's what we're doing. We're creating a way to make money. So like let's focus on those things. Maybe you need those social media templates. Like that's one of the first things you need so that you can get that kind of like your marketing out there. You need, an example is your profit and loss statement. You need to be keeping up with what money are you putting out and what money you're getting in. These are examples of, this is going to help me in my business. It's going to make me money. It's going to save me time. So that's what you want to focus on whenever you're looking at everything that you need to put into a system. Save me the most time, make me the most money.
Yes.
And then you're going to want to have like scheduled time to work on your playbook. It's going to look different for everybody. So I can't really say, do this daily, do this weekly, do this monthly. Like it's going to look different for everybody. And depending on what stage of business you're in, it's going to look different from different for you as well. So if you're just getting started, you've got all these things, and maybe you have a little bit more time to work on your business, or maybe you've got like a lot of clients, a lot of customers, you're in the middle of the meat and potatoes, you need to like do that maybe monthly rather than weekly. And then the next thing is, don't forget to cross-reference. An example of cross-referencing is like if you have, let me see, if you have a template, you can put your template in your SOP. So here's how to do all these things. And I'm going to say, this is how you want to post to social media, how you want to post to social media. It's this, 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 this. But here's the template for the graphic that I want you to do. So think about how you can cross-reference. And then that way, whenever you're like, oh, I've got my SOP, and here's all of the things that I need to do, but this is my link to my template. And so you can do that with a lot of different things within your references, your SOPs, your backlog. You know, like maybe you have something that you want to reference, but it's real easy just to go ahead and make sure that you're cross-referencing. It's getting where you need to go just in one place.
Right. Well, one of our users had this question: do you make a playbook for each client?
I personally would not make a playbook for each client. What you would do is you would make maybe a department, for instance, for your client. So you want to have like all the things that you're doing for your own business, but then like how are you working with that client? It might end up being like where you create like a different area for them altogether. An example is if you have, if maybe you have different types of services in your business, then you can say, okay, for this client, I'm providing this service, and for this client, I'm providing this service. You can kind of like divide it out within each client, but you don't want to get, you want to create consistency in your business. This is how people scale, is whenever they have a process. Like, this is how I check emails. This is how I do Facebook ads. This is how I create a website. Those are all examples of things that you're going to create your own process for. So you can create that, you know, that kind of like extra department for your customer, but you also want to think about how you do it to where that you systematize it like really, really easily.
Yeah, because the flip side of that is that they no longer want to pay for your services, but you don't want them to keep your playbook.
Right.
So think of your playbook as your intellectual property. Like, this is your process, and it's really important that you keep a hold of your process and that you don't give away the way that you do things, unless that's what they're paying you for. That's completely different. Are they paying you to clean out their inbox, or are they paying you for an SOP that, y'all create together that's completely different? So make sure that you're paying for the right thing.
Yeah. We had Mandy ask a question. Where do you keep your playbook as a working doc, or ClickUp or whatever? So it is one of those things you have to figure out what works best for you. So that's at the top of the point, at top of the presentation, is deciding what project management tool makes sense for you. I'm using Google right now, using Google Sheets as an example of a way that you can create your playbook. But we have our playbook in ClickUp. That's how the Virtual Savvy has theirs. And like I said, each department has their playbook, and then each person even has their own personal playbook. So I'm just kind of like keeping it real simple. But as your business grows and becomes more complex, you have to have more complex systems.
Yeah. Fran said, I've never even considered SOPs as being intellectual property. The
Yes.
cool thing about this is that once you create your framework and your system, that's what you can sell. So like, you imagine having a sales page that says, I've created this system, have worked with clients, and can, streamline your social media by using my, proprietary, framework. So it can really be something that's a marketing point as well. Okay. We're going to fly through here. We got a few more things that we got to get to. We got 15 minutes left, so let's fly through them.
All right, so this is kind of like a little bit of lagniappe, right? Whenever you're starting to grow your business, you want to think about things that can help you to expedite whatever you're doing. So the first area you have is swim. We talk about our swim lanes. These are the areas, the tasks that's going to give me life. You can do them really, really well. It's like you can do it in your sleep. You really enjoy doing this. An example is Katie in graphics. Girlfriend could make any graphic look absolutely amazing, like just at the drop of a hat. Chachi, you can put together landing pages and sales pages like nobody's business. Like I can go ahead and put some documents in order for you. You know what I mean? It's like, what are those things that you really, really love to do? So you want to always keep that in your swim lane. Things that you want to stop doing is like sometimes people instruct you or encourage you rather, like these influencers, hey, you need to do this or you need to do that. And you start doing these things, but is it really necessary for your overall growth?
Right.
To like really take a look at all of these different things. And if it's not necessary, just stop. Just absolutely stop. Another thing you need to think about is shifting things. Can somebody else do it? Do I have an SOP that I can hand off to somebody and they can do it for me? So just because you're a VA, you're a contractor, doesn't mean you can't have a subcontractor. You can have a subcontractor working for you and working behind your business and keeping you organized. And then the next area is systematize. Does it need a SOP or can software automate the process? We mentioned HoneyBook as well. Dubsado is another platform. We have platforms like Zapier that can zap things to different platforms. And so think of these are all ways that you can automate. Whenever you hear people talk about automate, it's like these things happen automatically. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a software. Those SOPs are ways to automate. It's like it's a process. It's a step by step. So analyze your tasks whenever you're putting them in your playbook. You want to take a look at each one of these things and say, okay, is this something I'm going to want to keep on my plate? And if it's something I can stop, let's not even put that into our playbook. If it's something I can shift to somebody else, maybe I put a little note by it and say, hey, I could pass this off to somebody at some point. Or maybe I need to systematize it and create like something a little bit more robust to do this process for me.
Love it. And use those. Every single, project management system has labels and tags that you can use. Use those things to their fullest potential. Tag things, flag them however you want to do it. But use those project management systems because they're great. All right, culturalize. What's this mean?
Culturalize. Yeah, it's a word. I didn't realize that was a word, but it's a word.
It's a word of the day.
It's the word of the day, culturalize. So as a solopreneur, You are creating the culture in your business. What do you want your business to look like? And by creating the systems, like it's like, hey, we do this by a system. Again, going back to using the virtual savvy. When we first started, we and we still do this to an extent. We have this kind of like this mantra of like we're building the plane in the air. We don't do that as much as what we used to. We used to build the whole plane in the air. Now we've got pretty much the plane put together and we're just adding pieces to it. But as a solopreneur, you create the systems. You decide like, hey, we're going to always use this information. So you can culturize your business by saying, hey, this is the culture we want. We want to use systems. If you already have a team, like get them on board, enlist them, help them, empower them by saying, hey, you can help me out with like creating this system. You can help me with this. This is what's going to save us time and energy and effort and money, so explain that we want to use systems in order to make things more efficient in the business.
Love it.
And then the next piece is, how can you culturize in the onboarding process? Whenever you're bringing people on, your playbook is your go-to. Like you can already say, hey, it's all right here. It's going to save you time. Your meetings, you refer to your playbook. Your team members, like I mentioned just a second ago, get them involved, direct them to the playbook. You can go and you can find that. You can really empower your team once you need to go with that, or once you're ready to go with a team. You can really empower them to take the next step without you. You can go ahead and say, hey, here's everything that we've got for the business. Like, go ahead and run with it. So it really empowers your team to step into that kind of leadership role and like really help you move forward.
Yeah, and you establish this now, even if you don't have a team. That's super important.
Yep.
So if anybody has any questions, we have about 10 or actually like 9 minutes left. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. And again, if we haven't said this enough, you can download the free PDF and you can rewatch this should you want to, and you can kind of get your business started on autopilot if you go to thevirtualsavvy.com/systems worksheet. That is a free downloadable PDF that you can use. So Priscilla says, I'm still working in my corporate 9-to-5 and our SOP manually so valuable for my team. This takes so much off of my plate as a manager. There's no need to micromanage. Nobody wants to be a micromanager. And this just gives you so much control, because I think if somebody is micromanaging, it's usually because they want some semblance of control, right? But if you can install this system, know what people are doing, you have a system that is comfortable to you. You don't have to micromanage because people are just doing the things that are on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's your baby. You've basically birthed this business, and most people want to protect it and take care of it like they do with their children, right? You want to protect it, make sure it's like running the way that you want it to run. And by creating all of these processes, then it does.
Yes, absolutely. Facebook user says, do you know if Pipedrive is a CRM or a project management system? I have never heard of Pipedrive. Have you?
I have not heard of Pipedrive.
All right,
Nope.
So we might need to crowdsource this one. If anybody's ever heard of Pipedrive, if you can answer one of our viewers here, that would be incredible. Tina said, you mentioned you were going to show us the Google Drive method.
Okay, so by using the spreadsheet, so that's what I was talking about, like having the spreadsheet as the different tabs of SOP, templates, etc. That's how you would use your Google Drive to create that playbook. You could use just like your Drive to have files to hold your documents and stuff like that. And that's whenever you would use that cross-referencing. Hey, here's where you find this template at. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how you use Google Drive in order to create your playbook.
Right. So you just essentially just create a new Google sheet, and that would house all of the different links that you need to go to, all of those different things. So Tina, correct. I think hopefully
Correct.
Hopefully that
The
answers your
cheapest thing,
question.
that makes sense. Good, good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Mandy says that Pipedrive is a CRM. So we'll have to go look into Pipedrive. That's a new one on this stuff starts and stops all the time, project management systems and platforms and stuff like that. So thanks for letting us know how to, or whatever the new thing is, we will have to look into Pipedrive. Okay. Is there a good example to look at for a playbook in Drive?
I don't have a Drive example created, but it's something we could do.
It is something that we could do, and
Yeah.
I think almost we probably didn't, because I think it's a very simple process. I think it probably sounds more complicated than it really is, because what you're essentially doing is you're creating a new Google Sheet, and within that Google Sheet you have 4 different tabs. You have, the references and the SOPs and things like that, and it can really look, as long as it makes sense in your brain, that is what would be, that's the most important thing. But there are a few people that are asking for a sample. So maybe, MeLisa, maybe at some point this week, we can drop a sample of that, of how you would kind of put that together, in the comments of this, and we can tag everyone that can kind of see it.
I think we could create, we could probably create a document that shows it pretty easily, kind of like I think we can do that.
Yes. Amy says, can you create the SOPs inside of ClickUp?
Absolutely. That's what we use.
Yep. We use ClickUp. ClickUp is so great, and it's constantly changing. You don't even need to have Loom anymore with ClickUp. You can create a screen grab inside of Loom itself. It's like its own native thing. Now, it won't do what Tango does necessarily. Like, you can't press record and then it creates it for you, but you can create your own screen grab from directly inside of ClickUp. It's really good. It's incredible. All right. If there's not any more questions, MeLisa, thank you so much for spending the last hour with myself and with our friends, with 70 of our friends.
Thank you so much for having me.
MeLisa will continue to be in the comments here throughout this week. We'll probably go back and try to upload one of those samples of the Google Drive method. And feel free to tag her inside of all of our different places that we are: Savvy Systems, Savvy Vault, VA Savvies, and we'll try to get that as much as possible and try to answer those questions as much as we possibly can. But if there's not anything else, goodbye, friends. We will have a special Savvy Vault promo coming up soon, so please take a look at that. But I think that is it. MeLisa, thank you for your time, and we cannot wait for the next organized VA series.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, friends.